Doma Sports Talk Worldwide with some news from the world of boxing. So y'all know what time it is. You ain't in a rush to get concussed. Now, listen, I'm going to be honest with you. Might be a little tad bit feisty. I've just seen a video of, some kids basically being, some black kids being held at gunpoint by policemen on the ground at some type of shopping mall because somebody thought that a car was stolen. We're talking about kids from 12 to 6 years old at gunpoint on the ground from cops. Now, these are the same cops that wouldn't even pull their gun on people who's trying to take our democracy in Congress, right? And those people were armed. So I might be a tad bit feisty here, right? We just got to keep this blood pressure down. It's absolutely ridiculous. But we're going to talk about something. Yeah, well, I'm going to still be feisty. We're going to talk about something that we know what went down with Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder. Now you have the Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury fight for undisputed that everybody wants to see, right? And what we will understand is that undisputed trumps any of these, mandatories that are getting in the way. Right now, we have the mandatory from the WBO getting in the way of that damn undisputed fight that everybody seems to want to see, right? Because I'm obviously not part of everybody because I don't want to see it. But okay, most people seem to want to see that fight, which I don't agree with. I told you it's going to be a flop. But okay, they want to see Tyson Fury versus Anthony Joshua. And Alexander Usyk is in the way with the WBO. Now they've asked Alexander Usyk, hey man, could you step aside and fight an interim fight against Joe Joyce? Usyk might oblige him. You don't know, but Usyk is like, y'all have to make me a good offer. Now, let's make this clear. Alexander Usyk is worthy of getting in the way of that fight, right? I'm not saying anybody is worthy. I'm saying Alexander Usyk is worthy because he's boxing royalty, and everyone knows why. There's no one in boxing who's done what Usyk has done. I don't think ever to become undisputed in your weight division and go into everybody's backyard to do it in the cruiserweight division, right? Everybody's backyard. And before you put to everybody to become undisputed, you beat a Michael Hunter, and after you beat a Tony Bellew, and you beat everybody in between. So if they were coming up and saying this guy could get in the way of that fight, because for me he's more significant than Anthony Joshua, because Joshua had an opportunity to become undisputed with Deontay Wilder, and he didn't take that, which I'm gonna prove in a minute, right? Now, and Tyson Fury is an obvious scumbag. Let's just talk about just being doped. Just that alone. And being a big behemoth of a man who's been doped. Right? And for people who think, well, you got something against Tyson Fury, the same thing I say about Jarrell Miller. Jarrell Miller. 300 pounds and you trying to be doped? Do you hear any brothers talking about, hey man, what's up with Jarrell Miller, man? So we behind Jarrell Miller. Dude doped twice, ain't no brothers want to see him. You 300 pounds and doped, get the hell out of here. That's probably pretty much how we think. Right? But for some reason, Tyson Fury is a big behemoth, doped twice, and everybody's okay. And his doesn't stop at doped. So when you're talking, you say Alexander Usyk and Tyson Fury in one sentence, it doesn't match to me. Right? And the same thing with Anthony Joshua. Just Joshua's closer. Joshua is definitely closer and seems to be more decent of a person than Tyson Fury does. Let's be real here. I'm not rolling with Joshua, but I'm not an idiot. Right? I'm only that Joshua would have been rolled with if he wasn't so spoiled and what was happening with that Deontay Wilder. Now, my point is this, right? The WBN, World Boxing News, right? Don't roll with them that much either, but they're, renowned and important and significant in boxing, right? Well, right now, they're upset because they saying the WBA, the World Boxing Association, is at it again, right? Trying to mess up an undisputed fight, right? And they mad because Manuel Char, who changed his name to Mahmoud Char, right, who ain't fought in 2 years, he's just a regular WBO champion, right? Right, Manuel Char. None of you guys have him in your top 10, but he still was the regular champion, right? And he's gonna fight Brian, something. I forget my man Brian. I forget his name, but he's gonna fight him. Matter of fact, I think this weekend, right? and people are getting in the way, trying to, Don Kingdom tried to get in the way and said fight the main Stavern and whatever. But Manabu Char or Mahmoud Char is saying, listen, if I win that fight against Brian, then they shouldn't have no undisputed fight. They're going to have to fight me, right? Now, World Boxing News is like, this is deja vu, right? This is deja vu. This is exactly what happened when Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua were very close to having an undisputed fight, and then the WBA came in with Alexander Povetkin, who, let's make sure that's clear, he's not worthy, right? Especially at that time. I think at that time he was doped twice. You don't remember Meldonium, all that stuff we was talking about? He was doped with Meldonium when it was legal in Russia for a long time until I think January 2018 is when it got banned. So that means my point was Meldonium, it is definitely for your endurance, right? And I can go back to the Carlos Takam fight. For me, Povetkin didn't beat Takam. He was full of Meldonium, and he knocked Takam out late in the fight. And then after that, he got caught with that, and then he got caught with Osterine as well later. So, Povetkin was a bona fide doper, right? Don't got nothing against him now. Since the dope is out of his system, he's still hanging in there. I think he knocked out Dillian White without doping. But if you did it before, it was, it got you to where you got. Let's be real. So he wasn't worthy to stop an undisputed fight. But they let him. And they didn't even ask for nobody to do anything about it. They didn't, request him to step aside and fight an interim fight. They didn't request and to say, hey, wait a minute, mandatories trump that. You can't just come up in a couple of minutes and then stop a fight of this magnitude. Because make sure it's clear, Deontay Wilder versus Anthony Joshua was the biggest fight in British history. That's what they were saying at the time. Now, WBN is just upset that the WBA has the nerve, Manu Char has the nerve to say something like that. So they're upset. But now they have to tell the truth about what they thought then. So let's just read a little bit, and then I'm going to stop, because I'm going to put it in the description box. In a story widely reported by World Boxing News, the Anthony Joshua vs. Deontay Wilder undisputed heavyweight bout didn't happen for one reason. According to Joshua's promoter, WBA ordering a mandatory against Alexander Povetkin scuppered the fight at the 11th hour. Firstly, WBN had inside knowledge Wilder agreed on all terms and was 2 days away from handing in a signed contract. Despite this, Joshua versus Povetkin came out of left field. That was the end of months and months of painful negotiations. Fast forward 2.5 years, and it could be about to happen again. As AJ closed in on the battle with Tyson Fury for all the heavyweight marbles, Mahmoud Char somehow believes he's going to be next up. Char defends his WBA regular championship this weekend against Trevor Bryan. The Lebanese-born German then expects to get his shot at Joshua. An astonishing turn of events, given that the WBO has already ordered Alexander Usyk in another messy situation for Joshua. If Fury versus Joshua falls apart due to the mandatories when an undisputed bout overrules all, it will be a deja vu for everyone. As the WBN outlined for the first time with Joshua versus Wilder, all the Britain had to do is request an exception to the mandatory for undisputed. I'll read that again. As the WBN outlined for the first time with Joshua versus Wilder, all the Britain had to do, the Britain is the Joshua by the way, had to do is request an exception to the mandatory for undisputed. This request has already happened with Usyk. The Ukrainian has been asked to fight Joe Joyce for the interim belt and then face the winner, right? Right? So what we're talking about, I'll leave the rest for you guys to read. But there you have it. Because I remember, everybody remembers, Povetkin, they were about to agree, and what had happened was, what we're talking about in agreement, I'm going to give you a little pre thing up to it, right? What had happened was, Joshua they were supposed to fight. Joshua offered 12.5 million flat fee to Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder said, what, 12.5 million flat fee to come to England? Joshua told him, take that with two hands. You know how that Joshua would tell you. Take it with two hands. I would, right? And that fight was bigger. So what did Deontay Wilder do? He said, okay, whatever, I ain't gonna say nothing. Boom, came back and said, here's 50 million. And all you gotta do is come to the States, 50 million, and it's not flat fee. If once we earn over 100 million, you keep earning, right? And then Joshua said, oh, and by the way, Joshua said in the interview, if they offer me 50 million, I'll take the fight. And then that's when Deontay Wilder offered that to him. He did not take that. He said, well, I'm not going to sell my soul for that. I want to fight on British soil because my fans deserve it. You guys remember this. Anybody who's on here knows damn well that's the truth. So he then, after that, he didn't take that. Then he offered Deontay Wilder 15 million. First Wilder and then was like, I don't know about no 15 million come there. And then they said, you know something? Damn it, we're taking it. We're going to take 15 million. But remember, when we fight again, right, it's going to be on. Right? So I think that's when it's 15 million to go to Britain. Deontay Wilder was just about to say yes to that. Since he said yes to that, and it was a Friday, I think they said yes on a Tuesday, and it was going to be done on a Friday. Povetkin came in on that Wednesday or Thursday, and all of a sudden they had to do it. And nobody asked for nothing. Povetkin, who the hell are you? You just came off of doping. Get the hell up out of our face. We're trying to get undisputed. Everybody wants to see undisputed. All of that energy was not there. That's what went down. Now, the WBN probably didn't want to say this, but they're upset about what's going on now, which means you're going to bring out the truth for what happened then. Disgusting, but that's what happened. That's why I'm saying people that know this are not watching Tyson Fury versus Anthony Joshua. Now, the people that don't know this, or the people that are acting like they don't know this, you probably will. But there's a lot of people who don't know this, and that knows that Tyson Fury is a dirtbag on top of it. Ain't watching. You'll see. You'll see. Just like Manny Pacquiao and Ryan Garcia. You'll see. A lot of people ain't watching that. They're going to tell you how big it is. People, I know you ignore certain people when they have issues, but these things are just not right. And there's some people, once they hear the truth, they have justice in their heart. It's not many of us left, but there are some. And those some ain't watching fights like that. You'll see. Doma Sports Talk, worldwide. I'm up out of here, y'all.